welcome to Critical Tumble, where a bunch of longtime friends and internet nerds transcend geography through the power of Discord to play Dungeons and Dragons and critically fumble a lot. We're missing a Brian on account of everybody in his family apparently being born on the same weekend. So, well, I mean, it can't possibly be deliberate, but still, sometimes you have to wonder. So he is in multi-family member birthday celebration of which he is a part. So happy birthday, Brian! For like 2 days ago. So I'm gonna have to figure out what we do about that, but we'll come up with something. Previously, the gang, after dealing with a little bit of a mess in the blind harpy in the form of a very large, very handsy corpse pile and 3 white dragons who were sort of turning the place into some kind of horde and possibly getting tainted in the process. We weren't 100% sure what was going on there. And they decided to examine the somewhat dug out cellar and found a tunnel leading into what looked, when they went in, like a drow encampment. Now, it also seemed incredibly deserted, so they went to investigate and found some really distressing shit. A lot of former crazy, a lot of suicide, assisted or not, some very tainted dragon eggs, which got quite handily splatted. And they were in the process of examining the various larger tents, just so that we know where we are. Food tent was, mess tent was. Do any of you remember where you were? Then can speak up, please.
Medical.
Okay.
I think Remy was with me too.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember Clarity was in the command tent. I thought you guys were mess tent because
I wrote down mess tent. I don't know if you left the mess tent.
Yeah, no, you hadn't left the mess because it was Hazel. I know it was Hazel for medical because Alice, who was who was going there, insisted that Hazel go, because if there was anything going on, that would be.
Farida was medical too.
Yeah, I was actually just about going there. So, and yeah, so Clarity.
Ava was with me.
Yeah, I was going there too. My brain is moving about 5 steps ahead of my words, so it's kind of getting bottlenecked at the moment. So yeah, I know that Darvin was with Remy. I know Ava was with Clarity. Rylan, I know it was only these 3. I'm pretty sure it was only these 3 in medical. I'm just trying to remember where Rylan and Barnabas were. I know Rylan was with Barnabas, so wherever Rylan was, Barnabas would be going along.
I thought I had the command tent written down, but I could be misremembering.
Well, yeah, because Barnabas probably would have ended up in the command tent because he'd see more there, and nobody was really expecting a whole hell of a lot in the mess tent anyway. And that was, in point of fact, a fairly good call, because when Farida, Hazel, and Alice started poking around in the medical tent, which I've moved you guys to now. Yes, I have. Started hearing quietly just this horrible, quiet gurgling. Which, again, it's only the people in the medical tent that are hearing this. Those in the mess tent are looking at, why is there so much mushroom? And Command is looking at that poor individual who got more or less filleted. So, yeah, just having a check and seeing where everybody who's in the mess tent would be. Because I know Alice A. It tends to be just straight on in. So, Hazel? Want to point out where approximately you'd end up being?
1 second. Given your medical would have been near Alice A.
Oh, yeah, but if you're looking at the map, yeah, okay, so I didn't know if you were spreading out a little or sticking behind her. Faraday?
Probably like just down here.
It's funny, I had a feeling that that's about where you'd end up. I don't know why, it was just a feeling. And yeah, that's about when the when the noises start up, you end up with and honestly, it's only Hazel who's not, in point of fact, close to anything. Because something that's somewhere between a black hand and an equally black tentacle and rather large starts crawling out from under that bed by which Alice A is. And 2 more, effectively flanking
Uh-oh.
Faraday in.
Oh, boy.
no.
Oh, jeez.
But given that they need a moment to actually clamber out from under the beds, I would like you all to roll initiative, please. We'll deal with you guys because I have no idea how much noise this is going to make and how long it's going to take you guys to get to the various place. Or, in fact, what's going to happen here at all. So let me see. There we go. So that's +2. So that's... And... 17, 18, 19, so... Oh, I probably shouldn't have asked everybody to roll initiative.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Because we're still missing some people who didn't. Who actually listened to me. But since everybody's rolling it now, you may as well.
Sorry, I said you all, so.
Sorry, but I did add directly after that. Because again, I don't know how this is gonna go. So let's see. Yeah, I tend to be you all when it's the people in a specific scenario as well. Please ask next time. Thank you
Understood.
very much.
That's ism.
What?
I
Oh.
declared the turn of phrase a thesism.
It's just there was a question mark sounding thing, and given you mumbled it, it sounded like you were trying to get my attention while I'm trying to write shit down. God, most people rolled initiative for shit.
Yes.
Gonna be one of these days.
Well, you know. Well, you know, and critically fumble a lot. And okay, fine, only one person, but not even the first time this weekend that Noms has had a nat one on the. And at least there was a very good reason. Right. Okay. So, Darwin not doing anything because nothing is happening that can necessarily be seen or heard. Faraday. There's one crawling out from the bed in front of you, and you can hear the same thing behind you.
Yeah.
Oh. Any creature other than an undead that starts its turn within 5 feet of this thing. Can you make me a Constitution saving throw, please, before we begin?
Oh no.
Ooh. 9.
Yeah, no, it's not even a particularly hard Constitution save, but it's bigger than that. You are poisoned until the start of your next turn.
Okay.
Oh joy.
Poison does.
That's if I recall correctly, disadvantage on most action type things. Not spells, I don't think. Well, spell attacks, maybe. Hang on.
Poison condition. Oh, it's fun.
Okay.
Yeah, disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks.
Okay. So, I'm going to use my disengaged sandal so I can move around to the other side of this thing.
Okay, blink.
And then lightning bolt across the two.
Okay, we don't see much of this, so can you give me the,
Yep. I should have spell card. Should have an attack thing for it too. Why does it say DC 14 there and spell save DC 16?
something went... I might...
It was a leftover from when this sheet was froze that the attack was going off decks instead of...
I'll see what I can do later on.
I just fixed it.
Okay, cool. But, I was going by the 16 anyway, so... Oh, come on. That's not fair. That's not fair. Well, 11 points of damage to each isn't exactly to be sneezed at. So that's...
I mean, that's... I rolled a lot of ones in that damage roll, it looks like, too. So that's not great.
3 of them.
Okay, bonus action?
No bonus action.
Okay. I'll say meantime, well, first of all. Yes. Okay. Yeah. She smelled worse. um, it's and this once again feels like a wonderful time to do my first attempt at the Steel Wind Strike tattoo. Let me just double check and see what I actually do. Oh, fucking hell, will you load? Let's see. Those up to 5 creatures, melee spell attacks. That's okay. It's only 3, so. Yep, and yep. 60, 10. Okay, so that's gonna be a thing. I need more d10s.
Oh boy.
This is good though. This is against the
right.
things.
Oh yeah. Good.
It's 22. 44. Okay, wow. 26. 48. And 20. 48. Again. So, yeah, flexes shoulders and wings, and the next thing you know, these things are significantly fucked up. Not dead, but significantly fucked up. So there's some unhappy critters, and actually, where is she gonna teleport back to? Actually, probably stay where she is for the moment. Well, no, because Hazel's got reasonable dex, so I'm gonna point myself there, just so I can be sure that anything that wants to get to the much less well-armored Faraday is going through her first.
I was like I say.
Well, I mean,
She protect.
she protect, she attack,
Yeah.
she make unholy spicy snack.
I was just gonna say she
There we
makes
go.
a meat snack.
I was trying with the figures.
We got there,
This-
everybody. We got there.
And this is why I play Bart. Okay, so thing number 1 is very much unimpressed. I was going to lumber in that general direction, and okay, so bite and claw. No. No. I don't think anyway. No, +6 to hit. No, most definitely not. So it's just holding off thing number 1. Thing number 2 is again right there, and is gotta keep trying. No, actually, just does not hit. So it's Faraday just gets sort of bing, 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 pop, and now she's sort of beating these things back with the scimitars crossed in front of her. That's the only reason her AC is even remotely high. What was Clarity's? Initiative roll. Actually, not bad. So, actually, no. All things considered, because you're looking at body here. And I don't know how much noise lightning makes and what direction you're looking in. So, just for the sake of argument, make me a perception check. Yeah, there's an odd bit of light in that general direction, and you seem to recall that was the medical tent direction that brief flash came from.
I'm gonna poke my head out of the tent that I'm in. Do I see any burn mark on the tent?
I don't know if lightning is magic would necessarily do that. And now we roll the hand of fate, because honestly, I don't fucking know. The hand of fate is not kind. Apparently, it grounded itself on these fuckers.
Okay.
But
I'm just gonna.
It's still a little weird.
Everything okay over there?
Well, that's pretty much action because this is 6 seconds. So, Ava, you do at least hear Clarity just being like, "Everything okay?"
So
Well, because Clarity sort of left off from looking at you because you were sticking with Clarity, and she just stuck her head out, going, "Everything okay?" And so you're looking out and seeing the same thing she is. But again, 6 seconds, so that's not a whole lot, and does give.
Does lightning make it? I mean, I know it's the sun.
Well, I rolled the hand of fate to see if it would make a scorch mark on the canvas, because that's what Linda was asking about, because I'm not sure. It doesn't state anything like that. So I rolled the hand of fate to see if you were lucky enough for it to get spotted, and I rolled a 1.
Oh, tits.
So
Damn it.
so I was just like, okay, so clearly the hand of fate is saying that it earthed itself through these black ooze critters. Yeah, and these two are effectively backed into corners, so blink. Well, the bite misses. I am assuming your AC is lower than 25? Hazel?
Yup.
I like.
In fact, unfortunately, exactly 16.
So 9 less than I actually rolled on attack for this. Okay. So that's 2d6 plus 5. So while I'm rolling damage, can you make me a Constitution saving throw, please?
That I very much can.
7 plus.
Hey!
Nat 20.
So you're not paralyzed, but you do take 12 points of slashing damage as these claws rip through you. And hand of fate time. Yeah. Hope you still have that salve to hand, because as this thing claws at you, you notice that the claws are dripping more than your blood, put it that way.
Yeah.
On the crud. And yeah, we do.
Oh boy.
Rylan. Oh, that's right. I didn't roll for Barnabas.
So I see these two sticking their head out, right?
Yep.
What the hell is going on out there?
To be fair, that's 6 seconds. So,
Mm-hmm.
Hazel. First of all, make me another Constitution saving throw.
Do not want.
That one.
And now you're
Oh no!
and now you're poisoned. You're not paralyzed, but you're poisoned, and you've got Remember, it's bonus action for application of the salve, and everybody has a jar of it at this point.
Yes.
Nope. Which I'm going to make use of.
Okay. So that's your bonus action.
And primary action is going to be upcasting Spirit Guardians to 5th level.
Okay. So 15-foot radius.
Swarm of flitties, yo.
5, 10, 15, more or less. Yes. So, distance 50 feet. No, because that's radius.
And it's wisdom save versus 15.
Yep. So sort of. Yep. I hope you're well, they're not quite in it, but I hope you're saying that if they do end up getting in it, they will not get munched.
Yeah, basically, anyone in the party qualifies as excluded from the blasting zone.
Okay, so that's 15 DC saving throw with +1. Oh, come on. You know you're supposed to be random, right? With a +1, 18, 19, 20.
Oh,
Are you freaking kidding?
No! I really wish I was! So, okay, that's on a failed save, the creature take half as much damage. So, that's... Well, and... Yeah, the damage is... You've already done that. So that's adding those two, I take it. So that's 26, 13. I mean, they're still not looking great. Yeah, even at half damage, they are very much not impressed. Remy, you've heard, given how poorly you rolled, I mean, you kind of, because Darvin hadn't looked up because he was the first in the initiative order, and honestly, given you nat 1 perception, you're too busy trying to figure out, is there anything here that's remotely sensible? Because right now all I've got are, why are there all these mushrooms? So you don't notice at all.
Okay.
At least until Darvin at the top of the round sees, wait, there was there a flash over there? Okay, now that's glowing, and people are starting to shout things.
So at which point I get Remy's attention on the tapping on the shoulder or whatever won't get me slugged. Because I see Remy is like really absorbed in thought, and I'm like, ooh, revelry. Remy.
What?
And that when you look up, that's when you start seeing glow.
Yeah, and I just point and go commotion and start moving in that direction.
Yeah. Okay. You're not really within a round of getting there. Farida.
Um. Let's see. I had to figure out what I can do that doesn't hit other people.
I mean, honestly, Alice is a big old mess of hit points, so.
Ow. Oh. Sorry! And another lightning bolt, but I'm going to use Careful Spell, so Alice does automatically make the dex save
Okay.
without having to roll.
Okay.
Holy
Does
jeez.
that made up for all the ones?
Yeah.
Natural sixes this time.
I mean, one of them made the save, but given that it doesn't actually matter because those two get effectively blasted out of existence.
Yay!
Team Gunk Slug blasting off again.
At which point it's Alice with a couple of singe marks on the wings and some very interesting you know how electricity scars. Ow! So hang on, I should actually calculate that for her. So
17, I think.
yeah. So yeah, certain amount of ow, which is in fact useful because she's about had enough of this shit, and I would like to rage. Okay, so let's see. So that's 8 plus the d12 plus the 6 ice damage. Yeah, no.
She's not giving the guts of drilling clinical depression.
What the fuck was that?
Did we just hear a glitch in the Matrix or something? What happened here?
Alice hit it so hard she drove it through to somebody else's connection and some leakage came through. I don't know. All I know is that the scimitars come out and splatter everywhere. Followed by the 6 seconds of ow.
Sorry.
That's fine. I respect how hard you hit. And so yeah, that by this point you guys have run into the medical tent, and there's charred, electrically charred, larger than the average humanoid. They count as large, those, and one that's just kind of been spread like molasses across a significant amount of med tent space. And yeah, anybody with mending want to do something about the feathers?
Is everyone alright?
Those things are every layer of bad touch. No.
Speaking of
What are
which,
they?
should we worry about?
Well, nothing.
Black shit? Yes!
I mean,
We need to burn all that.
Yeah,
obviously.
that's off.
Yeah, well, prestidigitation can deal with a lot. I I've got some charred wing
got
feather. Thank you.
Going to be
And
better.
prestidigitating.
Better. Be better. And an occasional gling, gling, gling.
Thank you.
In this patch that they can't reach.
Yeah, sorry. I tried out the Steel Wind Strike tattoo. Damn! That was fun. I'm sorry you guys weren't there to see it.
It's impressive.
Next time.
Yeah. And Faraday in and of herself was pretty impressive. I can attest firsthand as to how impressive her command of lightning is.
Yeah,
Tried to shape it around you as best I could.
You did, and I was very impressed by that too. But you know, this is a people thing. We respect your strength here. It's just that there's some interesting marks now. It's fine. There's not a tattoo there to wreck anymore, really. Bops her shoulder with a fist just a bit. It's fine. I am teasing you. I do that. So, there were those. You okay, Hazel?
Yep. Had solved. Just gonna keep the aura for a couple more seconds.
Prestidigitation might also be a thing.
Sorry, say again?
Prestidigitation might be a thing, because, yeah, there's just some smears there. Possibly mending on your sleeve.
Going to grab Amulet and just start doing that.
Yeah. So,
Have both.
once we're done and cleaned up and we step out and immolate this particular tent with holy fire, did anybody else find anything of any interest whatsoever?
Mushrooms?
More bodies?
Lots of everything was mushroom.
I mean, it's not even just bodies, just we found a body nailed to the tabletop and every major artery sliced, but in a way that it showed that there was no fight. They just lay there.
Yeah, almost like they let themselves be sliced apart.
Oh, starting to see how they
Or
went
they were unconscious. We're not
crazy.
sure.
I think it'd be only, I think out of all of us, it'd be Hazel who'd know whether they were conscious while this was going on or not. And even she might not. This is not exactly something they teach you in first aid, I'm pretty sure.
They do not.
But you stand a better chance of knowing than the rest of us do.
Point me to it. I'm gonna deactivate the sphere of holy nonsense after I prestidigitated and mended everything.
Yep. And yeah, step out of the tent and sweep. Command. Yeah, the command tent's a little bit smaller, and I didn't exactly put a body, but the body is there. And it's kind of impossible to tell what
have
to...
a look.
Yeah, medicine check for Hazel.
I carefully because I don't want to end up with any additional any new scuzz. $14.
It's a hard call to make, but it does occur to you that, I mean, unless they were heavily drugged, which maybe, but probably not, the first cut would have woken this person up.
Definitely let themselves get sliced up more than an unconscious because unless they were very, very, very heavily drugged, even one of these cuts would have caused immediate awake by way of ow.
Because they've been mind controlled?
Or more likely, poisoned by a horribly insanity-inducing sludge.
Maybe.
But wouldn't we see more of the sludge in the blood, though? Or changes to the body itself if there was that much sludge?
That's
Well, it
true.
looks like it
Maybe it was an, I don't know,
gathered up.
fungus?
Hard to say.
Could have been in the mushrooms.
Were they eating the mushrooms, or was this mushrooms using old food as a growth medium?
More of the latter, but maybe there's something in the air. Like spores.
How do you feel right now?
Not grody?
Not feeling like I'm being driven insane yet. So that's a good sign, but we've got the
Could be a
some
long,
protection.
slow
Didn't-
thing, though.
Yeah,
I mean, you can convince a lot of people to do a lot of things, so there may not even necessarily need to be a magical or other.
Get the drow have, as far as where were they? This is the corruption's not an uncommon occurrence down in the Underdark. Maybe it affects them differently.
again, though, wouldn't we have seen that in the... I mean, they've been this way for a long time.
Yeah, but and that's what I mean. They've been exposed for a long time, but they're still drow. They're not horribly mutated, tentacled monsters.
You didn't see what those things looked like. Then again, they
Well-
might not have originated as drow. Look, I don't know. All I know is that if they were going to be like this after prolonged exposure, we would have heard something about this by now. Rylan, your people deal with the drow more than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And you have scouts and you do scout places, or your people do.
We would have known if something like this would. Oh, God.
So it must have been quite sudden then.
If
Had to have been.
I mean, we don't even know what this is, but I mean, given the nature of the black sludge as far as you guys have told me, and the various other bits we've managed to pick up, this is getting more intense. I can't say how, but something's going stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Just bad. It's just bad.
And we haven't seen anything that gives us any indication of why they were here.
Well, if they were digging up into where the little dragons made their lair, it implies ordination.
So you think they were after the lair?
I think they could be doing any number of things. I mean, whatever
You
kind
mean
of
working for the dragon?
working with, whatever intelligence, broadly speaking, is behind the corruption. Could be driving the drow to all sorts of things. If it wants to spread, that's what the dragons are doing.
Well,
The drow marauders can be as destructive as any dragon in the right circumstances.
the thing is, why would they start at the blind fucking harpy? If you're gonna maraud, this is a bad barony to do it in.
Well, maybe with the winter weather that the dragon's summoning, maybe they can move more by day if there's not as much sunlight.
Well, it's not. That's the thing. It's not even so much the ground they have to cover. It's just there's not that many people. Hang on a minute. When you were telling me about Sigwald, you're saying that his parents were more than just ranch owners, that a lot of people in Gray's Inn were information gatherers.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the same kind of people who used to use that tunnel through to Egref. Maybe, I don't know, it's like they were obviously collecting valuables that might have been to keep the dragon or dragons sweet. I just wonder if that's why they're really here. I mean, tainted dragon eggs, that's something else. But sorry to Hazel and Ava in particular, but if you were gonna maraud for a horde and you could go just about anywhere you wanted underground, Baronsphere and Cedar Grove would be your better bets.
Yeah, Golden Dale and Cedar Grove would be the optimal places that just pop out and start causing problems. Since they are here, that's weird. There's all the people here would have been info gathering types, and per area, not a lot of them, because you don't exactly need dozens on dozens of people to handle horse ranches
And cattle ranches.
and to handle ranches in general, and to have an information network. It just needs to it
That just relies
you
on...
need only a few people per area, you'd think, right? Just gather information, bring it to one central place, and that's where all the folks would be. That's
Which
how
would have-
Gray's Inn seems to be set up.
Yeah, which would have been Gray's Inn in total. I guess what I'm thinking is the only thing that's worth having here from their perspective, because you're not even getting a lot of pickings in terms of a horde out here. The only possibly, but I think it's a little more roundabout than that. The heart, yeah, but also the kinds of information that might lead them to where it is.
Right, because in a place full of spies and sneakery, everything would be hidden under what? Several layers of obfuscation?
Possibly. Also occurs that because they're bringing out, they trade with the other baronies. Horses for the nobles, livestock for the people in Golden Dale who can support them, that kind of thing. So they probably know more about how each of the baronies operates and the best routes from point A to point B than anybody else in this country.
Yep. I need to pick their brains.
Or just find whatever's written down. It doesn't explain why they went crazy, though. I'm not sure if that matters. But it might, is the problem.
I mean, we can take another look at the mess tent. I mean, maybe just, hell, maybe just something got in the food. I don't know. I mean...
Do I have to assume that it's not something that the Drow were expecting, because this is quite a camp. They established themselves. There seems like something a long-term sort of, or at least longer term than just however this ended.
Yeah, I mean, and from what you were describing, or what you saw, and from the I saw, it definitely doesn't look expected, or not, probably not intended. So
Something happened. I just don't know what.
I'm not 100% certain that figuring out the what is all that necessary for right now. But I mean, we kind of don't have a choice to. We don't figure it out now. We won't. So I don't know. But I'm not sure in the grand scheme how much bearing it's going to have. I mean,
Well, if they can do this to a Drow camp, how much more effort is it
What
going
can
to
they-
take to do?
do it to a city or worse.
I mean,
Yeah.
you always tell me about Star Coast.
I know. I've been thinking about that too while we're talking. I'm trying to find the parallels between the two. I mean, it made sense for them to set up in Star Coast because, well, port, shipping, literally shipping this stuff, moving it.
And Gray's Inn, if they ever get that tunnel
Train.
unsealed,
Mhm.
is the easiest route to Equitas.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then, then my other thought was maybe, moving it through tunnels, but I don't know.
We should check the station under the Gray's Inn.
We're probably gonna have to deal with the dragon sitting on top of it first, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. And and if they were moving the stuff or planning to move the stuff through tunnels like this, why did this all go tits up? I mean,
Well, we
you'd think
didn't.
they'd take precautions.
That's the
and-
thing. We didn't even find anything that they were trying to move through here. So
Right. Exactly.
I'm not necessarily thinking they were trying to move anything into,
Yeah.
except for themselves,
Right.
which honestly
A
would
bunch
be
of
enough.
dead crazy.
But
Yeah, and they had and yeah, it's like they had a small stockpile of it or
Squish.
something. I don't know.
yeah, but that seemed to be more in the inn rather than here. This seems a slightly different concern. Slightly.
Right.
There's a factional bit of bullshit going on here. There's gotta be.
Some kind of
Yeah,
extra
that-
level of yikes going on, yeah.
Maybe
Because
both sides playing toward the middle. I don't know.
deities.
Either that or somebody has their own agenda and one is only taking it so far.
One more reason why we need to get that conversation thing happening, just to see what is going on.
I think part of what I want to know is the bodies we found. I mean, we haven't searched everything, but we did find a lot of empty tents. And only 3 of the squiddly things. Not even mind flayer type squiddly, just black ooze squiddly. So where is everybody else?
Well, maybe some of them were still coherent. And they got out of here.
You think
But
you'd
where's
see,
Theorizing
and
is-
you'd also think you'd
Back.
see more evidence of a.
We didn't see much traces of a struggle or running away or.
And you'd think that they'd at least take enough gear to survive.
Yeah, this is like they just up and walked out, like orderly almost.
Well, they must have gone downwards because we didn't see any signs of them in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Did we find any evidence of further tunnel out of here?
Not yet. We were mostly looking at the tents.
Okay, well,
I mean, the thing is, there's gonna be a tunnel anyway, because how else would they have got here? Because they weren't gonna come in through the blind harpy.
right.
Can you imagine what? Can you imagine? You actually met the proprietor of the blind harpy. What would he have done if that many drow walked into his bar?
Lost his mind.
Ah,
I mean, we could at least, maybe find the tunnel and take a look at the condition of it. Maybe there might be something at the entrance of it. I don't think we should go any much further down anything.
I was definitely not suggesting that, but
Right.
I mean,
But at the very least, we also need to, find it so we make a point of, it needs to be collapsed, as well. So.
yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one, because
Or at least maybe if we can.
well, I'm pretty sure we can. We've got some magic. We've got some magic slingers here, but I'm more thinking that it feels like a waste of effort because they live underground. What are they going to be good at doing?
Yeah, fair.
Making
fair.
tunnels.
That still takes time.
Yeah, I mean that was even if they, it's still effort for them to dig it out. So
Who says they have to do it by hand?
They could
They could have
have
Oh,
spells
yeah,
of
something
yeah.
that
magic and
tunnels
Many
for them,
women-
like their own purple worms or whatever.
Or Ballet or something?
Something large and drilly.
Either way, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do. I'm just saying that we have to consider the point of it or lack thereof, especially when you consider, depending on how we do it, even the most careful way of trying to collapse a tunnel could end up having some residual effects.
Let's start on our way out, set this place on fire as we go, and then set the harpy on fire as we go. We did say we were going to give it a proper send-off.
Yeah, but wouldn't that risk catching the forest around it?
There is no forest around it. Out of character, there is
We're
no
not in a
forest
forest,
around
we're
it.
in
This
field.
is and
Oh, I forgot.
badly frozen fields as well.
Right. Gotcha.
But yeah, we'll leave that as out of character because I know it's been a while since as players since you've been outside. But it's grazing is entirely plains.
Gotcha.
I mean, the only reason I can think of to look for the tunnel is that we might find any bit more clue, but I would in no way suggest us going down it.
Well, let's take another look around then.
Keep him a bit more in the loop because Barnabas has been kind of paying attention to this conversation, but not clearly not really throwing himself into it on the grounds of, I don't know jack from squat about how this all works, but I'm just mulling it over in my head, trying to figure out if it's anything like some of the faction squabbles back home. The various guilds had, it was a thing. It would take way too long to explain. You know, do a little bit of a sweep around the edges of wall, you know, not getting too far away from each other, but trying to cover some ground in as little time as possible, because you don't have that much in the way of time, and you really don't want to trip over anything particularly unfortunate. And it's Barnabas sort of over there, sort of going, y'all might want to come and have a look at this. I think I found what's supposed to be the tunnel. It's
Remy jogs that way.
It's not.
It kind of takes a little bit, and it the supposed to be is like, okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. The tunnel has apparently already been blocked off, just not by stone or earth or anything. It's like the corpse pile that had Clarity, only worse. Because some of the bits, the people are sort of fused into each other, so you've got this kind of meat cork with occasional hanging limbs and a head or two. They are almost all drow. A couple of...
Oh god.
I think we know where they went now.
I think I'd have to see how... I think I'd have to see how many people deep that went to find out if that's everybody, but...
Yeah,
Nope.
I don't think touching it is a good idea.
I had no
That's a whole lot
intention.
of nope.
I had no intention of doing that. But the only reason I say that is because if they had enough drow to do it, they probably wouldn't have borrowed some of the human. Or no, that's an elf or a half elf. I can't tell. I just see pointy ear.
I reiterate my previous statement about fire and leaving.
Well, someone definitely knew that there was
I know there's
something
mold.
bad happened here.
I know there's mold earth, but what is this?
Apparently, mold drow is a thing. I don't know.
Some
Mold flesh.
some part of us is some of our faction back home had a thing about flesh crafting, but it wasn't like this. I don't think, anyway.
How much of my religious teachings would remind me of the mythology of the not great flesh crafting deity?
Yeah, probably, yeah. To be fair, you could give me a religion check. You'll be reminded of some of it. Whatever. I just want to see how much detail you get.
$22.
Enough. What you know, she knows.
And now all of the old lessons are coming back, because no, this is a Chemosh thing, this is a Chemosh thing, this is a Chemosh thing, that's gross, that's gross, that's gross, that's gross, that's gross, that's
Well,
gross,
hey,
that's gross.
Hazel.
Do you want to explain
Slow
for
down.
the people who did not do that much in the way of religious studies?
So, Halo, her main rival is
The name is Chemosh, but the title is the Fleshweaver. And
Oh, yeah.
That sounds
and
about
something
right.
about the shadows cast by the fact that Palor is a glowing ball of light and everything. reached some far off plane, came into contact with whatever the darkness there was, and came to life. And because Chemosh is only the shadow, he can't make life like Palor could, and supposedly decided to make his own, just better.
So it's sort of a twisted.
Because he didn't need to give it to Nerul afterwards. And
Sort of a twisted offshoot of Palor?
More like a dark mirror image.
Hmm.
Yeah, like if the shadows that are cast from you when you're standing near a fire or out in the daytime got up and walked away.
So hang on. Because I've been having thoughts about this, but I haven't really wanted to freak anybody out. So I've been, and it hasn't been necessarily been relevant, except now it's kind of relevant. So that whole mythology, I saw a couple of lights go on when people were talking about it. So this Palor shadow touched some far distant plane and the darkness there. Are we thinking, because this is where I'm going at this point, that black shit is the primordial power that made all the dark gods in the first place?
Or at the very least either made some of them or warped some of them.
Well, the ones that were made did the warping of the others, as far as I can tell. Consider Lolth. That was done deliberately. Yeah. And it might have been done deliberately to get the drow in the first place. She was a patroness of order. So we're dealing not just with evil gods, but the primordial power from whence all evil gods came.
We don't go after small things, apparently. Like, jeez, wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement with this train of thought, and it's one that's kind of been percolating for a bit. And once Hazel here mentioned, as soon as you said that, I was like, oh boy, of course that, and if the darkness it hit is gonna be that, probably.
Okay, so, and this is where I'd attempt to inject a bit of hope into this. If there's a primordial force from whence all the gods sprang, there must be an alternative.
Yes, exactly. If we're dealing with flip sides
of the shadow.
Right. If we're dealing with flip sides of gods and flip sides of sources, and there's a source for that. Yeah, there must be a corresponding flip side.
And that sort of thing.
You said flip side a lot just now.
Sorry.
So you mean there's a flip side?
It's a big thing. I'm just, my brain.
There's evil, so there's a source of the good.
Possibly. Unfortunately, I think the only individual who would know that, and probably another reason that anything spawned from that would have wanted her dead, is the villain. Boy, protecting Shanaira just got a lot more important.
Yeah.
I mean, it already was, but yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, just because it was already important doesn't mean it couldn't get a whole lot more. So what do we want to do about the flesh cork here?
Just start the fire over here.
There's nothing to burn over here.
Stuff over to.
You want to tear. It points at the couple of companies. You want to spend the time to tear that down.
It is sealing the tunnel.
Sorry, no, not tear it down. No, not what I mean. I
But-
mean, take all the stuff from the camp
No, that's what I mean.
and line it up from here
To break a camp is to tear it down. You'd have to undo that. You'd have to unpitch the tents, all of them. You have to move every bit of furniture out of mess command. You'd have to unnail that guy from the desk. Do you know, even with the 9 of us, do you know how long that would take?
Yeah, we don't have that kind of time.
enough. Then just set it all on fire as originally planned. Just add one more thing to throw something flammable at.
An enclosed thing like this with it being blocked off like that, I'm not. Like it's going to eat up all the oxygen and go out before it does anything to that.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And burning the blind harpy is one thing, but burning this? She's right from what little I know of science.
Just leave it.
Leave it, burn the harpy, and honestly, the fact that it'll be unprotected from this point on will probably... We've got this sealed up. I know it's not respectful, but we haven't got that much in the way of choice. Anything we could do to undo it would be equally disrespectful. I think the only problem is... Yeah, but I can see your concern. It just hit me that if any survivors manage to try and find some place to go to ground and they find a burned out old building with a tunnel down it.
They're gonna go down the tunnel.
I want to try to make sure everything burned. I don't know how to do that given our time limitation. So we just leave it, burn what we can, and mark the rest.
Probably a stupid thought, but would creating a hole in the ceiling help? That would give us oxygen, wouldn't it?
How would we create... Oh, it's not a stupid thought, but there's a problem with it. How would you create a hole in the ceiling that you could guarantee wouldn't send the entire rest of it down on top of us?
True.
Yeah, it's legitimately a good thought. Just logistically.
Also, we don't know exactly where we don't know exactly where we're under either. We could end up putting in the world's biggest pothole.
Also true.
The blind harpy doesn't need that kind of a tourist attraction.
Well, at the very least, we're not leaving there a blind harpy 2.
Right.
I suppose once we're out, we can try to seal off the tunnel at the cellar end. At the very least, we'll be out, and if it collapses the place, then so much the better. But it takes a lot less effort to controlled rock slide or whatever else we can manage than it does to do it from in here.
I agree.
Yeah. So let's get started then.
Okay.
We should maybe at least burn up the medical tent just to, I don't know, make sure that black stuff doesn't infect anything else.
Well, yeah, we definitely set fire to everything in here as we're heading out.
Wasn't the whole point of that it probably wouldn't burn particularly long anyway?
It wouldn't burn long enough to burn the flesh wall. Everything else in here.
Clarity is right. We set a fire at the med tent, and whatever else it destroys, it destroys.
Works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do that, and it takes a little bit of doing, just because canvas isn't supposed to burn particularly easily. But eventually it does begin to burn. There's not that much to be done about the earth the earth and rock that got equally liberally splattered, but you can just hope that the beds burning atop it is going to be enough. And head back out into the much expanded cellar of the Blind Harpy. Farida, can you do anything with rock?
I think maybe, but
Farida.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, to make it easier, we can probably hit the top there with a couple of hits of Thunderwave so that you're not having to close the whole thing down.
Yeah, Thunderwave, Shatter.
I'll go Thunderwave. If we need some more precision, you do Shatter, and then you can seal up the cracks, so to speak. So that's 2d8. And 15 foot, so Hand of Fate on that wrong body. Yeah, it does the boom, and it doesn't entirely collapse the tunnel. It could probably use another hit, but to get the last foot or so up at the top.
Yeah, seeing that.
You probably don't really need to roll it.
No, I'm just checking ranges and such, and I can start it. It's a 10-foot radius sphere, and I can start it anywhere within 60 feet. So that's going to be well within the range. So, and that's 3d8. So so that as high up as need be.
Mm-hmm. And between that, between the two of them, that largely collapses the tunnel. Is it going to take particularly long to make that a bit more solid, do you think, Farida?
Hard to say. I can just basically do little areas at a time, so...
Yeah, that's cool. I mean,
start using mold earth and...
Yep.
Sealing it.
I imagine that'll take a little bit of time, but those of us with electrical burns could probably do with hit dice anyway. So
yeah, Darwin will take the time to step back after doing his part and just, I don't know how long this will take. I'm assuming essentially short rest, I guess.
Yeah, but that's where I was going with that.
Yeah.
So
he'll just kind of sit there, just kind of plinking away at little tune, just to kind of try to take everyone's mind off of some of the it and his own, for that matter, because I thought I was going to have to roll a constitution check to keep my lunch.
well, to be fair, you guys didn't have lunch. You had breakfast
Well, there you go.
And you actually have Alice sitting next and going, there's a reason I didn't recommend having lunch until we were a long way from this place's burning bones. I don't want another Nye situation. At least you had some direct. At least you'd have some direct reason for it, though.
But yeah, no, that's the Song of Rest would have kicked in for
Yeah.
that. For that was for this hit dice if you needed it.
Yep. Thank you.
I don't know if anybody else does. Or
I think it's only Hazel that got
okay,
hit.
just making sure.
So it's down to her whether she wants to. It's down to Smeagol whether Hazel wants hit dice.
I could probably, but I could kick those and probably not need to do a lot with them. I have a lot of hit dice that I rarely use.
Yeah, we very seldom do short rests. A lot of parties are like that. I think it was just 12, so you're back at full health by the time. So
While
yeah.
the short rest is happening, Clarity is just sort of hovering nervously near Hazel with her own jar of salve nearby, just like not actually doing anything, just feeling like anxious and
Because the other jars are just one use, right?
No.
No?
That's why you all still actually have them. They got sort of.
A lot of times it's just scoop a little bit, and smear, and you're good. But
Yeah. Thankfully, there was enough to last you guys a while. And it's Clarity's doing that. Glances in Clarity's direction and looks over at Remy. Thank you for not doing that. I mean, it's adorable, but not when it's directed at me.
I'm quite trusting that you would not have forgotten that.
Yeah, nothing got me except Faraday, and I can't really blame her for that. I mean, she has no armor, so where was I going to be standing?
No, can't argue that.
I really do hope that we get I mean, not anytime in the immediate future, but I hope that the next time we get attacked by many things, you're actually watching when I do that, because that was awesome.
Next time.
We live in hope. So yeah, when Faraday is done with that, he gets a pat on the shoulder from Alice in a kind of well done kind of way. Set the blind harpy on fire, and Legolas is just sort of looking at you all when you come out like, where the fuck have you been? Kind of expression. Sometimes we are going to have to be away from you. But we're okay. We're good. We're riding away, and then we will feed you. Looks at the building that is burning, and yeah, no, it was awful. You know this. Awful came out of it. It has to burn. No, you could not stomp it. Okay, fine, you could stomp it, but it wouldn't be as effective. Let's go. And back on your journey with the corpse of the blind harpy burning merrily away behind you. I just see Darvin going, yeah, that's fitting.
Yeah, he's got to look. He's basically keeps looking back, just thinking that, kind of feeling bad because he doesn't want to admit just how cathartic seeing it.
Yeah, you're probably not the only one thinking that. I'm pretty sure each and every one of the people who actually stayed there, even the ones that decided they weren't going to sleep in it, can say the same. And word about break time, and I know that break time is when some of y'all put food in you, so hopefully I haven't turned your stomachs too much. And we'll be back in 5 minutes with the continuation of your journey. And we're back after some fairly insane horror shenanigans in the bunch of tunnels under the blind harpy, which is now distinctly on fire, or was when you guys went charging past at the speed of moose. Flying across the snow at the speed of moose!
I don't know, it just felt like something like a Mountie salute. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, it's starting to get even slipperier now. So it's not so much, plowing through snowdrifts as going over ice hills. Yeah. Alice is perfectly fine with this. This feels like home, and Faraday probably not that much different. That's the kind of cold it used to get. For the rest of you, you are very glad you have Aeonbuck furs, because it's the further you go east, the colder it gets. This is you heading in the general direction of actual Gray's Inn, which Remy is still sort of helping guide in the right direction, riding double on Legolas with Alice, while the rest of you are bundled up in sled going, "This is not a winter wonderland."
No.
Remind me, what's everybody's passive perception?
13.
Not great.
11.
13.
Oh my god. Numbers.
Yes. I got a lot of 13s and 11s.
17.
Yeah.
16 from me.
Okay, yeah. So some people are actually noticing that it's not often, but a couple of times as you're passing through, you're going a bit fast, so it's only the people with a fairly solid passive perception who are noticing. There's a couple of times when you're passing what might off in the distance be a ranch house of some description. Not that either of you would necessarily recognize the architecture, but you're pretty sure there's a building way over there. But there's also, usually in those situations, the fields are empty, but in a couple there have been livestock that seem to be literally frozen in place.
Oh, that's bad.
By that point, you've kind of zoomed past it. So if Rylan and Faraday want to explain that, I mean, Faraday's got the slightly higher passive perception and is quite intelligent, so she'd probably have noticed that the only reason they're still standing upright is because they were stuck in the snow and couldn't fall over. But you'd think their heads would be sagging, so they got stuck in a snowbank and then literally iced to death. Most of what Rylan gets is that's not a living creature. There's too much frost on it for that, and it's not moving. And then you're past it, and that isn't good. The rest of everybody else did not see worth beans on that one.
I'm just looking back and forth between the looking at Rylan and then seeing the look on Faraday's face, and now I'm going back and forth between the two, going like, what?
Do people in other continents like frozen beef?
Those cows froze extremely quickly. Standing up, they're frozen solid, dead. Like,
oh, I wonder if those little ones came
Delightful.
through. Either this just swept through, like, or the dragon swept through, or the dragons
Oh.
swept through. or all three?
Ava's a bit more of a specialist on dragons. Young dragons would not be able to do this. Not even adult dragons would be able to necessarily do that.
This seems beyond what a young or adult dragon could do to me.
So
So
the
we're
ancients swept through.
probably dealing with
Yeah.
ancients.
Well, you guys saw the ancient, and Ava was there when grazing got hit.
Yeah, so it swept through. Swept through, made the environment more to its liking, and settled in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what dragons do.
And given what the book said, the longer it sits around here, the more frigid it's going to get, and the wider the freezing's going to get.
Until it encroaches upon the territory of someone else.
Mm-hmm. Moving further on, and those of you with the passive perception are noticing that's some kind of ice formation that's floating above the snow and moving. Some kind of ice elemental is Farada's best guess. All Rylan gets is ice that is alive and floating. This is new.
This is new and probably bad.
What?
Yeah,
Most likely an elemental.
You've numed past it by this point, so...
Giant moving frost thing.
Not giant. You couldn't really see how big it was, but not huge. You don't think?
Still, moving frost thing.
Frost
That's
thing.
new.
Well, most likely an elemental from what I saw.
So an ice block flying around. Fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's now apparently over that way, so...
Yeah, Ava does know that normally that kind of thing is confined to layers unless a dragon is really powerful and really settled in.
I mean, at least
Well,
it's not
normally
new.
they stick to their lair, so if it's either very powerful or still settling in.
No, it is properly settled in, and
Or it's properly settled in.
Ah, okay. Well, yeah, and it's had a bit to establish, so great.
So what does that mean? Ava? That its layer is basically leaking stuff out into here?
Sort of.
I don't like that.
Mm,
Well, I
There's
mean,
gonna be a lot more floating ice blocks and other things.
doesn't change the fact that we're here and we are going to deal with it.
that was the plan.
Just means keep your guard up.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be right back.
I'll say slows down a bit, just enough to be able to call back to people. I know the terrain has probably changed somewhat, but do you reckon that the Sullivan plantation you were talking about is nearby? I mean, the parents obviously aren't there, but it might be good to check it out.
Yeah, it's a good thought.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna look around and try to
Go for it.
remember
Yeah.
based on the terrain.
Yeah. I mean, I'm cutting another couple of days of travel. The things you've noticed have been in sort of stages, so you're near-ish. You should be there not long after dark, and that only because dark is falling a lot sooner than it.
So yeah, I just shout back up. I think we're near-ish, and if we keep on the way we are, probably get there. Well, the way that night's falling, probably right after dark. So only because.
Well, it'd be good to have a roof anyway. No offense to Magic Tent, but I'll see what legs can give us as far as a bit more speed.
With the past couple of days, we've all had a long rest, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Everybody has had a long rest by this point. And a while later, traveling a little bit longer than you normally do, because normally you want camp set up by dark, but since you have a destination in mind, end up more as the crow flies than you arrived, because it's off. The Sullivan plantation was a bit off the main road. The Sullivan plantation is not in, the building is in fine shape, but one of the first things that's noted is, you remember their herd dogs? Yeah, there's not a lot left, but apparently something decided they were kibbles and bits and bits and bits. With the exception of when when Legs and the sled stop, you hear this thing that's attempting to be a growl, but is more of a whine, and the rather elderly one that was so very fond of Remy that slinks out from under the porch, looking at you all like,
Oh.
No.
Remy takes off her helmet, goes up to the dog.
a little bit wary for a second, and then just against leg.
Oh, poor puppy. She'll gather him up against her furs.
Yeah, he's not a small dog. This is a dog for herding cattle, so not. You can bend and hug, but keep in mind you're like 5 foot, so.
Yeah, well, trying her best.
I'm gonna make my way over and essentially help get dog wrapped up and give jerky if I have it.
You have your bag of holding. You had some very interesting jerky flavors when you went on your shopping center rampage. So yeah, the jerky is rather summarily devoured. Most of what's wrong with this dog is it's hungry.
Poor Joko.
Yeah, just gonna continue supplying noms.
If we're concerned about Pupper being cold and everything, maybe we go in the house.
Yes.
Start a fire.
Yes, you should.
Tries the door. They had time to lock up. Clarity?
Sure.
Thieves' tools?
Yep. Hang on a second. 30.
Yeah. That's the thing. Alice can technically use thieves' tools, but she really wanted to give Clarity this one, so I'm really glad you rolled well. Awesome. Thank you. And since Remy is apparently still hugging Doggo, and so scoops up Remy and Doggo and into the house.
Okay.
Come on.
Yep.
It's moderately tidy, but very, very empty now. I mean, you guys know this place better than anyone. I mean, it's... You mentioned, like, spots where the farmhands eat and sleep. A separate wing or something.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to.
There's hope and memory serves us
Yeah, we
well.
should-
I'm gonna start looking around.
Yeah, Hazel, we should probably not go off alone, so I'll go with you.
Okay. I'm gonna start starting fires, putting some food together. 'Cause the jerky is all well and good. Anything for if you haven't eaten in a while, but elderly dog teeth probably aren't the best. Let's give something a little less hard on the dentition, shall we?
If Hazel's busy circling the place, do you need some help?
Yeah, sure. Unless you want to go, with them.
It's fine.
So who's going on the house tour and who's staying to start fires, caretake doggo, and make food? I know what.
Remy's staying with the dog and the fire.
Clarity's gonna go with Hazel.
Okay, so that's at the very least Darvin, Hazel, and Clarity going on the house tour. Barnabas is, since they're all going to be doing something, I'm going to stick by him and in case anything goes wrong. Rylan, Faraday, Team Doggo or Team...
I'm sticking by the fire. Want to make sure that thing's going pretty good.
I'll go with the others to check out the.
Okay, so Hazel, Clarity, Darvin, and Faraday are Team Real Estate, and everybody else is Team Doggo.
Team real estate.
Yeah.
Like, look, after what we encountered at the Blind Harpy, I'm not taking any chances. I'll feel better once we've looked around at least a little bit.
Yeah, you do find it's the mess hall first. I mean, you guys remember because you were actually put up in the spaces where the field hands, ranch hands were staying, just because by that time of year they weren't there. They weren't as necessary. The mess hall is a lot more of a shambles than the house. There's a lot of broken furniture. There's a couple of arrows stuck in walls and some fairly suspicious blade marks in what furniture remains. And there's a lot of stains that could be beef stew, but very much aren't. Not much in the way of remains, but it's probably a lot like the dogs outside. There's still the sleeping quarters and the rooms with the baths. Are you guys checking further, or?
I'm gonna keep.
Yeah.
Keep looking around.
I say check everything we can. So.
Yeah.
Okay. The bath, the rooms with the field hand baths, you're not going to want to stay in very long. The baths are 2-1 full of frozen liquid that is very much not water.
Like, walk in, take a look at that. Nope. Like that maybe where he's like, what?
Yeah, yeah. Grandpa Simpson he just had. Yeah. The sleeping quarters are a bit more in the way of the of the mess hall. Are you investigating, or are you just looking around?
Faraday would investigate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would Clarity.
Okay, investigation checks from you two. Thank you.
15 for me.
25.
22.
Jesus Christ.
And is Hazel investigating or is she perceiving?
Perceiving, because I do not have that kind of investigation.
You don't have that kind of
Criminy, no.
You don't have that kind of perception either. Apparently. Yeah, mostly Hazel is just. Hazel wants to be perceptive, but she's still trying to figure out how did they fill the bathtubs. Why did they fill the bathtubs? How did they? What? She's stuck on that one.
Just cogitating. I hate flesh mashery bullshit.
Yeah. Darvin mostly finds evidence that that drow encampment, it probably got at least this far before whatever bullshit happened. Because taking a good look at the couple of arrows that are in the walls, he's comfortable enough with the with the kinds of blades that would get used in that kind of situation that he can see, okay, that's not your average higher sword, that kind of a situation. Faraday finds effectively a couple of the belongings of whoever was there, included letters that were effectively calls for additional field hands for the winter months, because they clearly hadn't heard about what was going on. The Sullivans, because they were going, winter has been harsher than usual this year, and we're going to need some extra hands to break up some of the ice in the fields to make sure that the livestock stays fed. They were getting paid rather well, but it's clear from that they didn't know that there was a white dragon scenario going on, which for Farida is a little bit strange, because first of all, this is supposed to be a barony full of intelligencers, and you'd think that this Sigwald guy that they keep mentioning would have sent warning to his parents, and but on the other hand, the parents got out. So something isn't adding up there. Clarity finds about the same thing, but she also finds a very tiny. There is a kitten under one of the beds. There's this little gray puffball, kind of stripy.
Clarity holds out a hand to let it sniff, and if it seems amenable, we'll pick her up. Or it up.
Little wary, but he seems more. It's cold. There's no food, and at least this is warm. Kind of.
Feeling very warm.
Oh no! And wraps him in her coat a little bit, or him. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's just her coat. You had done a him at some point in there. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, just it's very, very, very tiny, so you could practically just put him in a pocket. Pocket kitty. But yeah,
Here.
you also find the the letters and the like. You do, however, find one more thing. This is a little bit too it's not a whole letter, it's a corner of a piece of paper that probably was a letter at some point. And it's got some kind of marking on it that isn't a word, because you'd be able to read it if it was a word. But it seems to be something or someone's insignia. It's not the it's not the Cragveer trading people stamp that you saw before. But make me a history check.
Okay. $15.
No, you can't think of anything historically. There's looking at it, there's some vague commonalities with some very, very old elven symbol shape, but it's not that. Wherever it is, it branched off from the kind of elven iconography that you've ever seen a long, long time ago. But it looks like someone literally destroyed the letter so that no one else could see it, but this must be where they held it when they set it on fire. Rylan might be the individual to ask.
That's what I was thinking. So I pocket the little piece and hold the kitty.
Yeah, so you guys look up from your various bits of investigation, and you just hear.
Look,
Love
Look.
the use out of the home key.
I saw the look on your face, and I knew it. Whatever it was, it had to be cute. I was not wrong.
Several.
I mean, it's handful o' kitty. This thing.
Yeah. We're definitely going to have LSA send message home, let them know to expect cat and dog. Can't just leave them here.
We got Noomf a little
Noomf?
sibling. I
Noomf?
can't quite tell.
Noop.
Sorry.
Noomf. you were going somewhere between noop and nomf.
Something like that, yeah. Well, Mel's cooking, so I'm also thinking.
Noop is noop and noop is noop.
Sorry.
Not noomf.
Yes, let's hope that Noop doesn't decide to try to eat New Kitten. Probably not, but
I would think noop is way more sensible.
so yes, are you guys going to wait to discuss what you found, or are you?
I think should discuss that with everyone.
Discuss what? Because I didn't.
They probably found a thing. We'll wait.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, let's get back together and we can discuss things that we found.
At the very least, it does look to everybody but Hazel, the still obsessing over bathtubs full of blood, that there haven't been people here for at least a few days. Probably closer to a week. So yeah, when you get back down, Alisay has taken some of her own jerky and soaked it in some warm water so that it's easier for the elderly dog to be nomfing. I imagine that Remy is still sitting by the dog, petting.
Yeah, sure. Keep helping them out.
And Alisay is enlisting Ava's help to put together something stew-ish. It's easier at this point, and feeds the multitudes. And that dog looks like it needs a lot of feeding. Poor girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if we ever manage to properly settle down, we are definitely getting at least one dog.
Oh yeah.
Big brown fluffy carpet dog. They make
That
the
does
best.
sound nice.
They make the best foot warmers, and you really don't like the cold, so
It will be nice once this unnatural winter is dealt with.
you don't like the cold, and you married me.
Well, you are helping. You are very helpful with warming up.
Yes, but I also like the cold. You still haven't quite stopped giving me that look every time I sleep with the windows open. At the very least, there's now wings to keep you warm.
That is very true.
These guys wander back in with clarity, with that look still on face.
There's another one.
I think it's a little smaller than, and you get. Barn
that is
cat.
Small.
There's going to probably
kitten.
need to be a sending to home so that we can use the key without, just dropping them off on the porch.
Well, in the house, I guess it would be, because, it opens into the house.
Or rather, yeah, in the house.
Yeah, I will do that as soon as I've got the dinner to a point where it's just simmering. So while I'm doing that, because I think I've explained to Ava all the things that I was actually in the process of doing. So now it's just adding appropriate bits. What else? Because there's some looks. You've gone that pale shade of green again, Darvin. What?
What?
Bathtubs full of frozen blood.
That.
What?
Don't make them repeat it, Ree. Why?
Goodness the fuck? What?
I don't know.
There were sword
still trying to
marks
wrap my
and
head around that.
arrows.
Okay, whoa, one at a time. Let's let Hazel get it out of her system, and then we'll deal with what everybody else found. Hazel, what?
Oh, all I was saying was I'm still trying to wrap my head around that because I have no idea why.
I know there's some ritual that probably needs that amount of blood, but I wouldn't know the particulars. And as long as you didn't,
Your bathtub.
and as long as you didn't see any like drawings in blood on the floor,
Just tubs. Full of it.
I liked those bathtubs. They sound.
Wait a
They
minute.
said they.
Plural?
Well, yeah. According to Darvin, because he had a whole comedy routine about the pun wars. Basically, they're tin bathtubs, good sized, separated out by canvas dividers, so you can talk to the people, but you still have a modicum of privacy. So there's several of them in a row, and all of them?
Yep.
Well,
That sounds like a lot of blood.
to be fair, there's more blood in a body than you think.
Yep. Very true. That's kind of why. That's kind of what the Y is for, because.
Some things need a lot more blood than they have in them. I don't know. Okay, Darvin, you were saying about
Right.
weapon marks and...
There were sword marks in the mess hall and some arrows in the wall that it looked like drow. It looked like some from the encampment,
So,
possibly.
so
but-
they did this just... So what, that was their base of operations, and they did this before they went crazy?
Sounds like it.
I'm not really sure. I totally to be honest. I just know that those arrows, and judging from the sword marks, they weren't the type of swords used by, your average hired man. So look more like, finesse weapons and such. So, but yeah, that's all I had, and that's all I really was able to get. But I think Farida and Clarity got a lot more than that.
I hope
Judging from the
so.
looks.
My predominant question is, what the hell were they doing here? You don't generally need field hands in the middle of winter.
Well,
Looking over at Faraday
Yeah, who does have
and
look?
Clarity.
Yeah.
Well, there was letters and everything about hiring more field hands because of the unnatural winter, which sounds like, for whatever reason, the people here didn't realize what was really happening, which doesn't make any sense.
I mean, your Sigwald dude knew that dragon shit was happening.
and this Sullivan's obviously left, given that we found his sister elsewhere.
Yeah, but they struck me as decent sounding people. I don't think they'd have sent that. Maybe they got warning, but it was way, way too late, which suggests they didn't get it from their son. If he was going to warn them, he would have warned them straight away that something bad might happen. The Sullivans you told me about were smart people.
It does beg the question, what happened to him, if anything? Like, why couldn't he get warning?
It's entirely possible that he vanished in a book somewhere.
He
Maybe something
he
blocked
didn't.
magic.
To be fair, he didn't seem like the most sensible person.
That's a way of putting it.
I also found this, and I hand the little piece of paper to Rylan. There's an insignia on it that seemed similar to some elven symbology that I have seen before, but I don't recognize it. But it seemed like the letter they were trying to destroy it.
Rylan,
I look over.
yeah, you have seen this the couple of times you've been on scouting missions with your people in the Elven Wild. You've seen that mostly as embroidered heraldry, usually fairly small and not very obvious, on what you were reliably informed were well, they were very definitely clerics. They didn't entirely seem to be just clerics of Lolth. But they were, when you saw that and asked about it, most of what you got was they're holy people, they worship everything that's wrong with Lolth, and if you see one, run.
So this is bad. Just
Why?
as overall, this symbol, where I'm in my part of the Elven Wild, was code for, if you see this, fucking run.
What is it?
A holy sigil of all of the worst bits of Lolth you could ever imagine.
So the reason that she is not in the Divine Conclave anymore.
Precisely. Worshippers of all of those reasons. This is... You said they were trying to burn this?
Well, it's just the corner. It's destroyed. So
She's saying there was a letter attached to this. So somebody wrote a letter to someone here with that symbol to identify them.
Now, was that identifying who it was from or who it was to?
Probably yes. Why would you use that if you weren't using it as something to show how damn serious you are? The only reason
Right.
you'd include it on a letter is because the person receiving it would understand the underlying message.
So someone here. Oy.
Just bad. This is just really bad.
Just demonstrating why you don't want a deity of structure or to turn into a puppet master playing with people's strings.
Mm-hmm.
This is getting uglier and uglier the closer we get to the actual dragons. And I know it's going to be shitty in the Elven Wild, but we need to do something about Black Crown soon.
This level, it reads like it's either they're both working in parallel towards the same, both groups working in parallel, or it's a case of repeated backstabbing disorder.
Probably both.
Probably, yeah. This.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Given the puppeteering thing and playing people against each other nature of that corruption-filled nonsense.
Well, it's.
Well, I mean,
it's like a much less benign version of what Shantea and Oral do. As the ladies of spring and winter, respectively. They're working towards a common goal, ostensibly, but they're doing it at entirely cross purposes. So, while they keep the seasons moving, it's the stars. You know how you see them move slowly across the sky. What generally happens is that, or what we say happens, is that in the wintertime, Oriel draws the stars towards herself because she mistakes them for fragments of her own ice. And Shantea wants the gleam of them as feeling as they're bits of Palor, so all the light needs to be hers, so she sneaks up behind and drags them back towards herself. And that's why you can get the feel of you can get the movement of the constellations. So they're doing the things they need to do, but they're stabbing each other in the back while working to keep a death and rebirth cycle to work along with the Baori and Obad High and the rest of them. This just sounds like more nasty versions of same. Oh,
I mean,
dear gods, it sounds like it sounds like if what would have happened if both of Nice patrons would have been evil.
Yeah. That's not a good
Lucky we
thought.
end up with one that's more benevolent. After all, little celebrations made out of, what was it? Fluttery, fluffy unicorns?
Somebody said something about spectral kittens. And then there was Ebenezer. Yeah, I don't think any of the sides of this particular conflict we're in the middle in is going to give us an Ebenezer, and if they do, we should probably run away from it very, very fast if we're not stabbing it to death.
Because their idea of giving us an Ebenezer would be giving us, I don't know, a spider the size of a house that wants to have us for lunch.
And Barnabas says, on that war table, I did see some of those made out of the black shit. Remember that
Worse.
one you said was a phase spider? bigger than a moose?
Uh, yeah.
Well,
We
for
want to
what
make
it's
another
worth,
circuit to the house, see if we can find anything else, or settle in and get ready to send our
I was about
precious
to I was
survivors
about to
somewhere
say it.
safe.
Yeah, well, I was about to say at least we know the mess hall, the sleeping quarters, and the and the bathtubs are clear of any immediate. So there's at least that. I don't know if we want to search farther, but
I mean, I had a fairly unpleasant thought. We've managed to find one elderly dog and one very young barn cat, and they were trying to keep livestock alive through the winter. What happened to the livestock?
okay, that's a
That's the
search we're
blood,
gonna
isn't
keep.
it?
Yeah. Oh,
Well, wouldn't. I mean, we saw the remains of those other dogs, so.
The ones but that was days ago.
It's a checking
Not
to.
the dogs, the cows.
Hmm.
Yeah, the thing is, it's a check to see whether they all got done what the dogs did, whether any of them survived. Because one of the dogs survived. If did they end up like your beef sickles?
or did
Something
oof,
else
something else
happened
get to?
to
Yeah.
them.
Are we gonna have to deal with something with tentacles and horns?
Oh, I
Maybe we
think
should
I've
wait
seen a sign
until.
for that.
I think we should wait until after dinner. Because if checking the house probably doesn't need all of us because there's not as much room to maneuver. But if we're going to be checking for the livestock, we probably want to do it. God's help me. I mean, if anything comes for legs in the night, we'll definitely hear it. So it might be better to check when it's light.
Agreed.
Okay.
I mean, there's no way we can fit legs in this house.
I know.
I mean, I guess we could at least check the barn, but
Do you want, do you want me to
I'm
put
willing.
Paul Navarro's around him? I mean, it's not going to do much, but.
I mean, he can take care of himself. It's not so much that. It's just, having him in some place might be an idea in case something's coming from the air. Is all I'm thinking.
Yeah, that was part of why I was reticent to just leave him out.
Yeah, we probably ought to do that soon, just on the basis that, if nothing else, if there's anything else patrolling out there, we want to get everything that indicates that we're in here tucked away.
Yes.
Agreed. Okay. Um, I'm more than happy to help with checking the barn.
I mean, I can,
Before we do the check, let's do the sending stuff first.
Well, what if we find something in the barn that also needs to be sent?
yeah.
Oh, you meant the sending to let them know. Sorry.
Yeah,
You
but
said sending, not
no,
key.
yeah, but you're still right though.
You have the right idea, Darvin.
Yeah, it's
okay.
useful to have a warning of exactly what's going to be coming in. I mean, I can either go with you to search, or I can keep an eye on this stew, because honestly, Pupper here is looking stronger, and if I stop guarding this stew pot, he might end up with his face in it. Her, sorry. Yes, the stew will be ready soon. You see what I mean? Happy Pupper.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
well, I'm not going by myself. That's for sure.
Let's do our additional check. Clarity, if you're coming with, we're going to leave Kitten with the fluff ball over there as a pillow.
Yeah, Claridia had been feeding little bits of meat to the kitten, and you want to, Remy? Do you want to take it? Him? Do you do cats?
Yes, I think I can do cats.
We just didn't have time for the kitten pile. The puppy pile was intense enough.
Yes, it was.
Hey, Clarity, out of curiosity, did you think of a name?
Not yet.
Just thought.
Give me a minute.
Why don't you
Just curious.
why don't you use it as a thing to think about after you've checked the barn in case there's something horrible there that you don't want to think about.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah. That sounds like a good idea.
So is it the same team going to check the barn?
I'll go with it.
Oh, Avi, you're
So
gonna
now-
go too? Sweet.
Okay, so Hazel, Clarity, Darvin, Ava, and Farida head back out, and a little bit slippy. I think it's only Farida who's not having an issue on. There used to be a path here, but now it's ice, and you know what it's like when you're trying to walk like walking on an ice rink. You can do it, but you gotta be slow, and you gotta be careful, and you gotta pray. You don't have to run. Yeah. Given the passive perceptions I know about from you guys, I think it's only Farida that sees that there's some splintering on one of those stable walls at around the right height for panicked horse to have kicked it multiple times. There's a couple of dents of that variety along the side wall.
Huh. At least some horses here were panicked and probably trying to get at pointing out the dents.
Oh, damn.
When we
That was
reach the
Panicked horse
door,
ride.
pull it open and stand back. Yes?
Sure.
Question mark?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's pulling the door open? You got the sort of stable double door kind of thing going on.
I'll grab one
I'm
side.
familiar enough
I'll
with
grab the other.
arm shit. I'll do it.
Well, we've got Darvin and Hazel because, to be fair, mostly the help never let you do this kind of thing. So you open up the doors, and what comes out, because it doesn't come at any particular speed. None of it actually seems to be living. What it is when you stuff a whole bunch of things into a closet and you open the door and everything comes out. You're not sure if this is all the livestock from the Sullivan plantation, but that's a lot of formerly very good horses with awful lot of meat removed, but enough still there to be. What you basically got is horse carcass avalanche.
Oh.
You're not there, so
Is it still squidgy or is it frozen by now?
to be fair, because it was packed in that tightly, and it's been about a week, but it's in a barn, and there was still some relative warmth. There's some, that half defrosted. It doesn't smell.
God, and it's also kind of
good.
rotted
I just
through
mostly-
and everything.
It doesn't smell much. It doesn't smell much like rot, but it's
Okay.
But it's that
So I'm just trying to
but
clarify,
it's
because if it did,
that kind of slush.
yeah,
Imagine blood and viscera
Ew.
slush.
yes, I may have seen that.
Yeah.
That was,
And so you guys draw the doors open and
look around the door I just opened. Oh.
Well, you don't have to. It pours past the door. So you open and
I looked slightly to see the rest, to just see this village still going. Oh.
Yeah, and I opened the door just kind of, and I.
That's
Oh
not.
God! Oh
That's
God!
gross.
It's trying very hard not to be sick. Do I need to roll something?
Constitution saving throw, probably with disadvantage at this point. You've had a hard few days.
Mhm. There's a lot of icky.
I'm sorry, but but the whole thing about this is
I'm throwing up.
yeah, and it's amazing. Good, not 20, not 1. Yeah. Yeah.
Polar opposites.
Yeah, I do apologize. It's just that this particular bit is an awful lot of body horror.
Oh yeah, no.
For very obvious reasons, but yeah, so.
I would be probably really throwing up if it were me in real life.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Very fair.
Me not so much, because I've actually been to a few. I've been to a slaughterhouse.
Yes, and in character, Darvin did hang around the docks. Saw a lot of fish gutting. So this is like the biggest fish gutting imaginable.
Yeah, that's basically, he's just sort of going, it's fish, it's lots of fish, it's lots of fish, it's lots of fish, it's lots of very large four-legged fish.
Farm experience is thankfully farm and medical training is keeping me from losing my lunch.
To be fair, you guys skipped lunch. So.
Yeah,
No.
so
Yeah,
it's
we
all
haven't
dry
technically
heaving.
eaten yet.
Yeah, so.
And losing my lunch in the metaphorical.
So, yeah, you look into the barn past the horse phalanx, and it seems empty beyond that.
I mean,
why did they just stuff everything into everywhere?
I mean, to be fair, there are some fairly excessive teeth marks in these things.
How did they get like this, though?
Eating them.
I'm trying to imagine a dragon or something just shoving a bunch of horses into a space and just slamming the door as hard as they could. But that doesn't make any sense.
Clarity and
they'd be freezing their food anyway.
Clarity and Farida are intelligent. Even as Clarity is saying that, it's like, okay, somebody here was working for or with the body horror monstrosities, and it's possible that dragons came through eating stuff, possibly at pre-agreed signal, and then people cleaned things up in that it just needs to pass inspection for people to drive by. Because it looks fairly normal from outside. It's only when you really start looking around that you see any particular problems. Somebody, as far as Farida and Clarity can think, because again, you guys have that significantly high intelligence, somebody is trying to make the place look normal.
What goes by here that they would need to make it look normal at a glance like that?
Hazel, and Darvin have answers to that. But Ava probably would if she was a little less focused on not to dry heave anymore. But Hazel in particular, I mean, mercenaries, merchants who didn't hear the news because clearly the Sullivans didn't until it was too late. Adventurers who only think there's a dragon there.
Merchants. Any adventurer not in the know of the extra crap running around here. Like, someone who would be wandering through here on some quest or other, convinced that there's just a dragon, when there is a lot more, and all of it just under the snow.
Mm-hmm. Well, and mercs, people hired to come through for whatever reason, you know.
Well, to check on
Any number of folk.
to check on things when it gets quiet.
Right.
Because
check on stuff.
normally people are in this. I mean, for Hazel in particular will know this. This time of year, a lot of the movement out of Goldendale is Gray's Inn importing feed.
Right about now would be when Goldendale and Tyre would be sending feed carts out this way. In short, totally looks normal. Let's stop our feed cart here. Oh no, we are now more eviscerated flesh parts.
Or, and this is more Clarity and Faraday, or they ride by for Gray's Inn proper when they go, like, why is no one home? They go to Gray's Inn for the gossip.
Gray's Inn was the center of all of the information and gossip, and if someone was investigating, they'd be headed there.
Yeah.
You see this, it looks fine, you just pass it without a thought. If everything else was out in the open, be second thoughts about
going to Gray's Inn.
And most of all, the one thing that you're largely missing, if somebody who was supposed to be delivering feed to, say, the Sullivan plantation knocked on the door and nobody was home, you don't go opening someone's barn. So they'd be like, okay, where did they go? Who might know? People at Gray's Inn might know.
No one's going to think to look in the barn, and so, you know, even if the Sullivans weren't here, they wouldn't go looking in there for anything suspicious. They'd go to Gray's Inn.
Yeah, I mean, Hazel knows how rude it is to go poking in someone's barn without permission when no one's home.
Because everyone here, up until pretty recently, had absolutely no clue that there was that dragons were even a running thing on this continent.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's...
There's still enough of a fog of not knowing through everyone outside of Goldendale that just this entire country descending into havoc would be made quite a bit easier, because no one would be aware of anything outside of, well, home, where all the mercs are and all of our attempts to save it are based out of.
Well, yeah, and
we're fighting a war where half the country doesn't even know it's happening. Doubly so with Gray's Inn taken out as quickly as it was. Because this would be the folks who get the news to everywhere, and with it gone, news? What news? The only news anyone's getting is if there's a magic user scrying, and the great black-winged jackass has banned most magic.
Yeah.
Of course, then the question does occur to somebody a little bit calmer, probably. What do we do about the horses now that we can't keep Legolas in a barn full of?
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna. If we are gonna put Legolas in here, we gotta clear this in some fashion. 'Cause, yeah.
This is a
I'm
lot.
not sure we'd even want to keep him in here. Like, look at all this.
I said if.
It was still a bit green.
At the same time, it's a roof. You know,
We need him under something so that anything going overhead won't
Mhm.
see him.
Clarity and
At the
Farida
very
again,
least-
highest int scores. You've seen the Blind Harpy, you've seen other houses in this part of the world. Cellar doors are usually bigger than normal doors, and a house the size of the Sullivan plantation must have a fairly sizable cellar. Maybe you could keep Legolas there. He seems a pretty dexterous beastie and can probably manage the stairs.
Well, we could try maybe having him go into the cellar. The cellars around here are much bigger, and a place like this will have a big one, so probably
good,
fit.
yeah.
Find it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, provided that there's enough clearance. But yeah, that's worth a look. That's good. That's a great idea.
I think while we go looking, let's keep our minds at least a little bit thinking, how are we going to clean this out? Because there's a squig
Do
to
we-
latch.
Do we want to? Because they were hiding it. Leaving it out basically works against what they were hiding it.
Also, if it
Also-
freezes,
I
it
would draw
won't.
attention.
Also, if it freezes, it won't rot anymore.
Yeah, if we leave it out in the open, it'll at least
Draw
stop.
attention to us is the only thing I'm thinking.
No. It already knows we're here.
I mean, we left a fire behind us. We already.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, didn't they, like, when you guys went down there, was you're out there, never mind, sorry. I just realized where yeah, never mind. Didn't Alice say and Remy say that when they went down there, it was they were like, oh, what was it, Mom or whatever said
Papa.
said you were
Yeah,
gonna be
they knew
Papa,
that
that's what it
we
was.
were coming.
Yeah, Papa said you were gonna be, so it already knows we're here, okay?
Yeah,
I
well,
mean, the only thing is that it doesn't
Yeah, it
know,
knows we're
it might not know
coming, doesn't
precisely
necessarily
where
know
we
it.
are, but
and to be fair, though, if somebody sees a bunch of half-eaten horses piling out of a barn, they might turn back. Might save some lives.
That's true.
and yeah, like, yeah.
That
Right,
sorry,
again.
I only say that because Hazel, at the very least, being her chaotic good self, would think of that.
Yeah, that rattles in eventually. It's like, yeah, okay, right. Point.
What?
Let's yeah, we can probably just leave this, and anyone who sees it will just freak out and go the other way. In the meantime, let's go find ourselves a cellar door.
Yeah, good idea.
Good point.
It doesn't take very long to go around the house and see a good-sized cellar door. It takes Hazel and some significant prying to open it because it's kind of ice-locked. But when you get down there, it's pretty well organized. It's clear nobody bothered with this. Legolas is not going to be able to raise his head over much, but he can probably get enough clearance to not bump his antlers too badly. And there's feed sacks and even a fairly large bag of apples that hasn't gone too much to the squish yet.
Wow, this is practically Moose Hotel.
Well, no, they were clearly keeping horse feed and things down here. So this is carrots and apples and
Like, like a mini bar, and then the apples and bits on the pillow.
sort of.
Okay, well, maybe not.
And
Moose Hotel, Horse Hotel, but still.
you do have as you're looking around from the stairs, the what little light is coming from the moon gets blotted out by a very big rack of palmate antlers.
Hey, Lex,
Hi.
we're
Get out
trying
of the
to
way.
we're trying to find a place for you to be.
Glomp, and down the stairs.
Okay, that's a thing.
Rack angles, angle.
Yeah, pretty much. And heads directly for the carrot's nose in bag.
Okay, he's fine.
Oh.
We can go now.
And to be fair, you could probably just shut the cellar doors and go up. Yeah, and
Oh, there's the stairs.
yeah, and to the tune of Legolas loudly chomping his way through a very big bag of carrots. The door in the kitchen opens, and Alice is just, oh, hi.
Hi, Legs is in the cellar. The barn was a no-go. You don't. Ew.
Not before
We'll
dinner.
explain
Okay.
in a bit.
Okay, yes, food, and then we could pass along some information and see if that has any bearing on where we're going next. But for now, let's try to keep our minds off it, because I can see, Ava, you're looking a bit green. Those green tea sweets that Froseth had, apparently that kind of tea is good for settling the stomach, so maybe have one of those before you eat anything.
Sounds good.
And then we will have food, and then we will discuss why the green is. Also, because we're well past time. So when we come back in 2 weeks' time, we'll address that and make the final approach, one way or another, to Gray's Inn and Vardel's lair.